pueri Turnus, who was perfectly happy not having any relationships with anybody. I mean, this was very unrealistic. But that cut me off from the feminine because I couldn't. I didn't really need them, the real feminine. What I needed something else. But like I say, what is so fascinating to me, and I can't wrap my head around it, is in my case of being the puer, it was totally being airborne, way above the earth, no connection with the earth. Now, in this your connection, it is at sea level,
mm-hmm.
but you're in fluidity. You have a great fluidity, and there's this absence of land masses. So I think, how do we erect a mountain? How do we make a mountain come up out of there, and then we have some security? Is if the land masses is at sea level, it's somewhat tenuous.
Yeah.
Hi, Ivan.
Hi,
Kevin and Gary. Yeah, we're just kind of discussing. I'm hoping that Charles might share his, some of his. He just has a very fascinating. How old are you exactly, Charles?
So I will be turning 30 on July 26th, same day as Carl Jung. I share a birthday with him.
Wow, that's a very. See, my birthday was April 18th, and so it was 418, and I always thought there was something. Somewhat had some omen aspect in it, but let me say this: even though we mature a lot later, 35 was considered the age, where Dante goes into the perilous wood, and it was also very close to the age of Jung when he had his Red Book visions. So it was a point. 35 used to be considered the midpoint of life, So at that point, I think, I don't know, what do you guys think? I mean, when I used to look at high school pictures of people graduating in the 40s, 1940s, they all look like they were 35 years old. And now you look at them today, and it's far more youthful. I don't know what's going on, but
I think the psyche of the individual has a lot to play with how they look and kind of.
Yes, I do think that there's a more, and there's another aspect of, and this is just my observation, and it could be wrong. But one of the things that von Franz said was very attractive to men, this was back in the 40s and 50s, was elfin women, women who had faces that were just youthful, but not particularly feminine, so they were somewhat neutral. And what I think I see in a lot of younger people today is where there's not a very, very masculine face, with jaws and, heavy beards, or a very, very feminine face. They seem to meet in the middle, but I don't know what that means. But anyway, do you guys have any dreams you want to discuss? I mean, Ivan, we haven't heard from you for a long time, or Gary or Kevin, anybody.
got a really short one.
Yeah, let's hear it, Gary.
All right.
You guys got great dreams, I'll tell you. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, this one, good luck. So I'm riding on a path in the forest on my bicycle. Mm-hmm. And behind me, there is a stag, something with huge antlers. Mm-hmm. and a very large black bear that are running side by side chasing me. But I'm not really worried about it because I think, oh, I'm faster than those on my bicycle. So then a voice tells me to stop and wait for the bear. And so I do that, and the bear comes up and he lies down by my bicycle and he's panting, just like a dog. And that's it. I'm just there with the bear.
Okay, now that is a dream that just gives me goose pimples right off the bat. Okay. All right. So there is this aspect. The forest is a very is the unconscious. Okay. So this is in the region of soul. Okay. I was hoping people had a better reaction to the Dolman thing because I really like the soul spirit connection. But when you're in the forest, it is very soulful. I mean, this is the rooted, vegetative unconscious, the one with many connections with the earth. Where the water is a little more amorphous. Now, you're riding on a bike, so you're on a vehicle of of it's like the vehicles of it's a two-wheeled vehicle. Okay, it's a two-wheeled vehicle which you're riding through the unconscious with. So it's somewhat I'm not sure what that means, but it's at least it's two-ness, and now behind you, and this is so beautiful, it's just absolutely gorgeous. Behind you is a stag and a deer. So there is a hoofed,
bear.
a bear.
Yeah.
A bear. There's a hoofed animal, and it is a very antlered vehicle, antlered hoofed animal. And then there is the bear. And the bear is a very ancient figure in our dreams. I think so is the deer, but the bear, where in Norway, and you probably know this, Kevin, too, everybody's named Torbjorn and Bjorn and Bjornstein, I mean, which means the bear, it is an animal that looks very human. And, my dad used to say he was a meat cutter. When they would hang the bear up after it had been skinned, it just looked like a person. But it. Go ahead. Yeah, it's an omnivore. Okay, and it's an animal that is now both those. See, you don't really dream about bears very much. I dream a lot about caribou and deer and elk, but I don't remember dreaming about a bear. But so those are both very wild animals. So it's not a dream about a dog. It's not a dream about it's about two very large mammals. So and they're very wild. So you're going through the forest of the unconscious, and you're being pursued by very primal, instinctive forces. One representing a slightly carnivore predator, and one representing a grazing animal. And now you're not really worried about it. You can keep ahead of them on your bike. So there's an aspect of that they're near, they're pursuing you, but the ego can stay ahead of them and doesn't have to worry about it. But then a voice. Now this, whenever you hear the voice, it's always it's usually when you hear a voice, a disembodied voice, this is the voice of wisdom, the self, and it's telling you to stop and wait for the bear. Okay, so you stop and you wait for the bear, and we don't know what happened to the stag. And it's interesting that you call it a stag, you know, because it would be that could be usually either an elk or a deer male, and the voice tells you to stop and wait for the bear. So the bear comes, the bear, the very primal instincts, and it isn't threatening you. It just wants to be with you, you know, just to be near you. So I'm just going to try to sum this up now. Um, I am in the deep rooted unconscious. Okay. I'm moving through it on a two-wheeled vehicle, a vehicle with two uh, touches to the earth, and I am being pursued or being followed anyway. Not pursued, doesn't look like, by the very primal instincts in the rooted forest. So I'm moving through the unconscious, and the primal instincts are moving with me. I feel perhaps that they're following me everywhere I go, but I don't feel that the ego has any problem being overcome by them, you know. But then a voice says, stop and wait for the bear. So that's the purpose of the dream, you know. When you're moving through the unconscious in this manner, the purpose of moving through the unconscious is to stop and wait for the bear. Okay, the wisdom of the bear. Okay, and the wisdom of the bear is an omnivore. It's one who can find sustenance with all food sources, or all different food sources, and you're supposed to stop and wait for the bear. You know, there's my wife and I have one. We were talking about Von Franz. There's an image that she had of the bear who it's a dream that someone had. The bear has an obsidian stone, a black stone, and it's smoothing it on another rock. And she says, that's the stone of relationship, you know. So anyway, why don't you guys say something? And I, you know, the more we talk about this, the more sense it makes. What do you think, Charles?
So one thing was like, you know, you have enough energy to pedal past them, but the bear does not have enough energy to keep up.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I can't really like think of exactly what the bear really represents, but the elk is like an instinct to me, that the elk or the caribou or whatever it is like an instinct that says, it's like a headstrong thing. Like, you don't want to go head to head with me.
Yes.
Because I can clash with you powerfully. It's not something that you want to confront. Mm-hmm. The bear, I don't know. It's almost like,
yeah.
It makes me think that, like, aren't there like plenty of like shamans and things that are like, oh, I transform into a bear, or like that bear could be like one of my ancestors. Like, I don't know. It seems more like a slightly more human-like anthropomorphizable animal.
Just the side of a dog or something. I mean, the other side of a dog. I mean, it's more wild than a dog.
And then, I don't know, the bike makes me think that it's, for what it's worth, that it's like a two-dimensional way. It's almost like a image vehicle or something. I don't really know.
It is a very interesting. I like that.
But yeah, that's pretty much all I have on it. But whatever the bear represents it needs rest because of it's just, well, I mean, it's clearly out of energy. It's an exhausted thing, not from being used too much, but from being ran away from too much. But yeah, that's all I'll.
Well, I like the aspect of the stag is a combative animal. You know, it has this aspect of that its antlers do have a a challenging aspect. What do you think, Kevin?
Yeah, can I just first ask, like, the elk, is it more a feminine association or is it more masculine?
Well, since it has antlers, I think it's more masculine, but
the stag too is unless it's a reindeer, it's going to be a male deer.
Okay. What's up? Palihog ng istorya ko. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay, yes. Yeah, my thoughts. Yeah, I think this is somewhat also, it's very interesting. Like, I feel also this is this a new dream, Gary?
just last night.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a
Like
wonderful
somewhat,
dream.
yeah, Carl Jung talks about, I feel like about also compensation dream. If you go too high up, something has to put you sort of down. And I remember you had a dream where you were up in a tall building, and up in this tall building, it was like this poisonous fog coming. You know, you were too high up in a sense. And I feel like this is somewhat also a compensation dream. It's spiritual in a motherly level. Like you have the great mother, which I think is the bear. I don't know. I just saying things, but
It's feminine. It's it is a feminine unconscious, and it is because of the rootedness that is around everywhere.
Yes, so I feel like there's so many symbols to the bear. Like it could also be a symbol itself in terms of in feminine psyche, but in men's psyche it usually can be the symbol of the great mother. You know, it's maternal aspect. So I feel like perhaps it's the great mother that is now chasing you, and which the self is now asking you to stop. You know, and not necessarily because you need a mother. I mean, you are quite well grown up. But I think it's more about connecting you to this. It's an opposition of being high up. Now it's going in a oppositional level. So it's completing the circle, if you like, the Ouroboros dragon. I feel like, and now you just have to stop for it. And the cycle is, it's very liberating way of moving around, and it's also not so much ego defenses. So so you are sort of left open to these unconscious forces, and now which you have to stop for.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is the bear. Here's just what Serlo says about it is that it tends to represent the initial stages of the instincts, and is a symbol of a perilous aspect of the unconscious, and as an attribute of a man who is very primitive, and it's found in the company of Diana, and is regarded as a lunar animal. But the thing that really strikes me about it is just the sheer beauty of the dream. I mean, it's just every bit of it is just. I just want to draw a very rich drawing of it. I feel and I know that even if I don't understand it, that it speaks to me very intensely. What do you think, Ivan?
So the last part of the dream, did you say you were laying down with the bear and the stag?
No, I think I hopped off the bike but the bear just kind of comes up and lies down beside me, almost like a dog would do, and the stag is nowhere to be seen.
Okay, so to me that's somewhat like a sign of surrender, right?
Our companions.
By the bear. Yeah, the bear
Yeah.
doesn't want to attack you, even though it's a perilous aspect of the unconscious. It just wants to be with you.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I have my 3 dogs right now just laying down on my feet.
Yeah. You know, the stag has been related with the tree of life because of its antlers. You know, so it has this aspect of it's a symbol of cycles and regeneration. You know, because it sheds its antlers. You know, so it is and in the fact that it is this animal uh, of combat. So yeah, I mean, those are two very powerful instinctive images. You know, images of the instincts are very compelling. You know, both of them. You know, and
When
the
you
fact that they're coming after me would make me feel honored. By the way,
Hmm.
if I was being pursued by the stag, which is this is really of all land animals, I don't think there's any more noble animal than the maybe the lion, but than the stag, you know, and the bear. I mean, what who else would you include in that group? You know, I don't know, but I would say of those of that trio, the lion, the bear, and the stag. I don't know of a
Um,
mammal that is more uh, is it just gives me an aspect of my relationship with the unconscious has very noble qualities in it, you know, very uh, it is a very dignified unconscious, you know. I mean,
um,
this is what I feel about Ivan's and Charles's
and
dreams as well.
if I could just add, Gary, I think also Maria Louise von Franz talk about the self in different levels. You know, self as a symbol of stone. You have the self as a symbol of animal, and so on. She talks about this. You know, the self as a symbol of animal also somewhat says about you know, the self runs through everything. You know, it runs through the minerals into the animal, into, you know, high up. And I feel like this dream is somewhat of that, incorporating the self from an animal's perspective. You know, it's putting the body into you in a sense. You know, it's putting the self at the body, sort of at the animal level, at the bodily level, rather than just in a sense being high up. Um, I think in that building. Yeah, which is more of is just purely spiritual level. It's more of the self being, you know, high up. But it's so much nicer when it's in the body. You know, it's yeah, it's really nice.
Those two animals, by the way, are the companions of Artemis and Diana. I mean, the bear is one of her animals, and so is the stag. And the stag is kind of considered the Mercurius of the animals. It's sort of a messenger of the gods. And you know that they used to say that was because you can compare it with the goat. The goat's not the messenger of the gods, but because of its grace and its ability to move, the stag is considered a messenger. So it is. Let's just say this. This is another aspect of its aesthetic beauty, is that you're in a forest that represents the anima and the transformative feminine, and in the are the most noble aspects of the forest, which is the two companions of the goddess of the forest, which would be Artemis or Diana, and it's the stag and the bear. And so we're moving through the forest. The unconscious is interested in us. Seems like it's not pursuing us, it's following us. It wants to be with us. So I think this is what I think is really attracting me, is there is an aspect here of love, of mutual love. It doesn't seem to be threatening. It seems to be an aspect of there's a mutual interest between the unconscious and the very powerful instinctive aspects, the active aspects of the forest. So, the passive aspects would be the trees, but the active aspects are these very noble beings. It's not a squirrel. It's not a rabbit. It is these very, very unusual. If you see a bear, you're instantly swept away. If you see a stag, I mean, not just any old deer, but you see an antlered stag, they are very unusual. And they, at least the ones around here in Iowa, tend to hide, because I think because they are hunted, so they have learned to lay low,
Yeah.
But I remember one time I was driving across a 4-lane highway, and here comes this huge buck, and about in 3 leaps, he's come from one side to the other side, and he's gone, And another time, a buck is coming, and it's about ready to hit my car. I slam on the brakes. I was like a Toyota SUV. It completely leaps over my car and lands on the other side. So I think, first of all, there's this sense of great wildness, which is the wild heart of the unconscious, which it has this great numinous quality. The fact that it's so unpredictable and so beautiful, and it's interested in us. So it to me, that's another of the regenerative qualities of it, is that its wildness is evocative of something that is completely new and fresh, and vivifying to the ego. I mean, I think that's my. So I would say, let me just try one more stab at a summary. Okay. That I am in a extremely alive unconscious, one that has many aspects. In other words, it's a flowering unconscious, and it has a great interest in me. And I'm moving through it, and it is wanting to communicate with me. And so what is my response? So I think that is one of the aspects of it, is that the unconscious wants your response. It wants to be with you, and it is sending it 2 of its most noble representatives as intermediaries.
Okay. I was also, if I could just add, I also think, like, because you had this anima dream, where your anima wanted to be more with you.
That's a good contrast.
And I feel like, anima, wanting relate more to your shadow is also one way of, I think, staying. Something wants to relate more with you more at everything pretty much we repress about our bodies has become the shadow, more or less, aggression, sexuality, and all of this. And I feel like back, into your nervous system, if that makes sense, into your wood, the parasympathetic and all of this nervous system, the wisdoms come from there, from the self. And now you don't really have choice than to stop, because now the self is really saying, I'm here. So
the wonderful contrast, contrast the fact that the anima, is going to take 3 lovers and you're not one of them. So you're kind of excluded from that. Okay, so now this is the very anthropomorphized conscious aspect of the anima. But now we're going to step back into the unconscious aspect of the anima, which is the forest, the bear, and the stag. And there is nothing of this. It's a much more genuine, less duplicitous relationship with the unconscious. Where in this, in the more conscious aspect of relating to the unconscious, of course, the anima is the unconscious, but in the more conscious aspect, she's showing a certain amount of, she's very conscious, and she's very conscious of your ego. And that on that level, she's not happy. But on this level, in the depths of where all personality has been removed, and you're talking about just sheer life, it is, to me, it is totally accepting. I mean, the fact that you're going through, you could just go through a forest and not have these noble beings accompany you. And not only just noble beings, but they are the consorts of the goddess of the forest are accompanying you. So the goddess of the forest's representatives accompany you through her realm, so there, that's why I think it's so beautiful, Gary. And I really can't say too much more. I mean, I think that's, to me, says it. I mean, I don't think that because of the there is not really a lesson to be learned. To me, it is a expression of acceptance and love by the Dionysian aspect, the pan aspect, the forest aspect of the unconscious. This very rich, life enriched aspect of the unconscious, not the abstract side, but that side is your, wants to be intimate, your intimate friend. Ooh. What do you think? Okay, Ivan, do you have any final words, or anybody?
Yeah, I was thinking, actually, kind of, when it's a path like that, it almost reminds me of a story like a journey. Ego is trying to overtake your instincts, but then as you make it further down your path, you're waiting for your instincts to come to you, and they are serving you, and you are trusting them.
Yeah, loved. I can't remember what it was, but it was sort of related to the other dreams. Did you have a dream that you wanted to discuss?
Sure.
Because I think we just left you hanging on that last time.
I think I put my book in my other room. I'll go get it, but.
Okay, sure. Yeah, okay, all right. Does anybody else have a dream that they want to, like,
well,
Ivan?
I wanted to say about Gary's dream, in the, I don't know, I guess just this idea is inspired from listening to a lot of Hillman recently, is don't forget that, since you just had that dream last night, don't forget right now you have the bear with you at your side.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, right now as we speak, that bear is with you. So that's what I'd
Oh
say.
yeah, I mean it's just I say even as I'm first hearing the words come out of his mouth, Gary, I mean that just that initial setting was everything for me. Just the forest, the stag and the bear. I said, do I need to know anything else? You know, I mean that was it's just very beautiful. Well, I would say that you've been blessed, and I like what Charles said too. That it's the there's this wonderful dream that one of Von Franz's patients had of she comes up to a hill and there's 3 elk, and a voice says, come to the place where the 3 elk gather. They will tell you which way to go next. You know, in other words, she's coming into this very the thing I think that is so wonderful about it is do you feel in your heart the healing aspect of listening to deep nature and not listening to the chatterbox of ego consciousness? I mean, the fact that I'm now going to take my counsel from deep nature, which I know is whole. See, when I see the anima with her 3 lovers and this excluding me, that is an aspect of brokenness. But when I'm with these animals and in the forest, it's an aspect of just a feeling of healing. Well, go ahead, Tim.
Okay. First of all, can I share my screen? I'll give you a drawing.
Yeah, I hope you can. Is that,
Yeah,
do you have a share thing?
Okay.
There you go. Ooh,
You see
beautiful.
that?
Yes, that is so beautiful. I'm going to do speaker view so I can see.
I better read it first. Well, I don't need to read it. I can remember it.
It's a wonderful drawing. I kind of like the what did you color it with?
I used a water-soluble graphite and colored pencils.
Yeah, I like the choices. I mean, the browns and the grays and the black, and then the pink hand or the.
Are you still seeing it?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I can't see it anymore. But so that it's called Burning Woman.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow I've gotten in with 2 or 3 other guys who have a woman that they are trying to get rid of. She is unconscious, but I join in a process of putting her in a box. And then all of us drag this box into a storage room with a bunch of boxes on shelves, where they are going to light the box on fire. I say, I wonder why this kind of thing doesn't happen out in the driveway where the cleanup isn't so bad. Obviously, I'm not taking it seriously. The guys light the box on fire and leave. I follow them out, but I can't find them. Finally, I find one of them and I say in a British accent, "Sir, please, can we quench the fire and explain to the woman that this has just been a huge misunderstanding?" Obviously, I'm not taking this as a real situation. Then I go outside in the driveway. After some confusion, I open the door and back into the room where that was. And I see a pile of gray ashes, wet, with some snakes, some dark snakes coming out of it. That's where this drawing is. a couple of which come out to me and attach to my legs. They turn into reptiles and start crawling up my legs. I try to grab them and pull them off, but it's very difficult.
Oh my goodness. What do you think of this dream? This is this a one you just had recently?
Yeah,
God, it is this is a real big dream. I'll say that, you know, is absolutely unbelievable. I mean, every aspect of it is so surprising. I mean, it's just, it is one, you know, that's what, when you are so shocked by this, you know, it's authentic products. Okay.
right.
So the burning woman, okay, so there is an aspect of, it is almost like a rebirth of it's almost like a phoenix aspect of the anima or the transformational feminine. She is going to be burnt to ashes, just like the phoenix bird is.
Right.
So it seems to me like it's almost a great ceremony of the rebirth of a fabulous feminine aspect. Just this, we're seeing a the something is going to happen to this feminine being that is going to be absolutely spectacular. I mean, the fact that she's going to be burnt like the phoenix, and it's being done by 2 or 3 men that are with you, and so it is somewhat the shadow aspects of the unconscious aspects of yourself realize that now this is getting a little bit off. They realize that this this feminine aspect needs this spectacular regeneration, just absolutely spectacular. And so they light the box and leave. So they've done their task. So now it's you. You come in, and you say that they must quench the fire. This is a big misunderstanding, but I think that what they're doing is so huge. It's incredible. I mean, that's why I'm saying this. I'm thinking this is a spectacular ritual. Now, I might be going down the wrong road, but is my initial feeling. Okay, then you open the door. Now you find, like when the phoenix is burnt and the ashes of the phoenix are left, you find a worm, you know. Now here you find snakes. Okay, now these are aspects of the feminine. They come towards you in their most the snake, since it is like the spinal cord, and yet it is conscious, represents some of the you know, the essential aspect of being alive. Now, when it reaches your legs, or the snakes reaches your leg, they suddenly take on a more conscious aspect, and they become reptiles. Okay. Now, if you see any alchemical emblems, you know, the reptiles are the initial form of the dragon, are the initial forms of the self of Mercurius. So the dragon is the self before it's been differentiated. So let's just go through this one more time, and then I'll throw it out to somebody else. The what I'm seeing here, and I could be wrong, is that it seems to me like there is a fabulous act going to be performed. And this is the rebirth of the feminine in a spectacular act. And it is performed, it's initiated by 3 unconscious aspects of ourselves, possibly 2, and then make it 4 for her. And then they disappear. And you're complaining, the ego is complaining that this needs to be stopped, that there must be a big misunderstanding. But to me, this seems almost like a cosmic happening. I mean, absolutely. I mean, I had that impression from the beginning that this is an incredibly big dream. And then, so then you come in, the act is performed. There's gray ashes, slightly damp, and out of it comes this nascent life, which represents the a feminine aspect, not a spiritual aspect. This is soul, and the soul, when it reaches your legs, the things that connect you with the ground, starts to become more conscious, you know, and you can't get rid of it. So it is at least attached itself to your standpoint, the fact that it's your legs that stand on the earth. Okay, now this is absolutely beautiful. What do you guys think? I mean, I'm still wrapping my head around it, but this is such an important dream. Go ahead, anybody.
What I got out of it was, I've been working on my anima character for decades, and
Yes.
and I always approach the creative, the more sort of developed side of the anima. As an artist, I work with this every day, and so it's like I am dealing with her upper stories. And what really struck me about this is what's emerging out of the ashes is the lower aspects, the kind of,
She's being burnt to the ground,
Yeah, so it's the animalistic, the sexual, the more primitive.
The most her most essential aspects, rather than her charming aspects,
right?
And her eyes. I mean, you have these paintings of where it's either a judgment or a task being asked of you,
right?
And or sometimes she seems like she's in high places, and this is a completely it seems to me a restart, a reboot of the relationship with the feminine,
Right.
And it is and it is symbolized by the fact that she is going to be reduced to the magic. Ashes are unbelievable magic. They were considered, once something has become ash, it can't be burnt again. So it's considered almost an indestructible substance. So she is going to be transformed into an indestructible substance, out of which comes the worm, like in the case of the phoenix, which is the new life, the new emergent life that's coming out of this reversion to its indestructible aspect. When it reaches your body or your consciousness, it starts to take on a little more consciousness as well, and it attaches to your standpoint, and it cannot be removed.
Yeah, and this is another point that I keep coming back to. I'm trying to use my hands to pull these things off my legs, and my hands seem to be useless. And so it seems to me that this is a situation that has to be approached with the with the spirit or the intellect or something that is not hands-on.
Well, yeah, I would say that what I'm seeing is that this has an inevitability to it, that it is happening to us. There's no will involved. There's no volition involved. This is an occurrence of that is happening to us. Now, as far as the hands can't remove, that could say that that the ego has no power right now. You know, I mean, the ego can't do this. The fact that they are attaching to your legs too, are attaching to how we stand on the earth and our connections with the earth. So, and the fact that they become more conscious when the feminine is gaining consciousness from its contact with us, it starts to develop legs, and feet, you know, four-leggedness. And so anyway, how about other people? But I'm just saying, this is, oh my God, this is a beautiful, beautiful primal dream.
One of the things that strikes me about it is the woman is completely unconscious.
Yes,
Right.
not much
Meaning
said of
that,
her.
you know, she's been suppressed, you know, she has not had like active imagination acted on her or anything. And so, you know, other parts of the unconscious are going to transform her to something which is more alive and more active. And the conscious part is really, you know, not very aware and not taking seriously the process. But, you know, like, you know, one of the things that I'm reminded of in the, you know, from the Red Book is that the snakes were, you know, these were, you could send these down as messengers to the underworld to, you know, to get information, and they would come back up. So to me, the snakes are, you know, these are also the link to the unconscious for that feminine aspect, because that feminine aspect was unconscious. It needs to be transformed. The snakes are a link to the unconscious. The snakes seek you out, you know.
Yes. And their unfailing wisdom, they are absolutely will not be incorrect. They speak the truth.
And like, you know, I know like the medical thing also has the snakes on it, and I think that's actually like a form of healing. You know, I don't know what the
Yeah,
exact
the
name is.
Asclepius on the you know, has the going on his the staff. Yes.
And the entwine, you know, it's almost symbolic of that. These things coming up your leg, you know, it's like, it's almost like, okay, you've, you know, something has been forced to the unconscious. We're going to bring it back to consciousness, and the healing has to be in the root, you know.
And it's merged too. I mean, it seems like there's a merging with the legs.
Yeah, yeah,
And it can't,
which is like the very rootedness, and the snakes,
yeah,
you know, the messengers to the underworld.
with the lower half of our bodies. It's becoming one with them, where the upper half of the body's looking down and somewhat horrified, you know, but it can't do anything about it. So yeah, I love that.
And
Yeah, go ahead, Kevin.
I was thinking, yeah, the reptile looks also like salamander. I don't know if it's a salamander, yes, which Gary talks about in alchem. I think it's alchemical studies. Anyway, salamander is used a lot in alchemy, and the thing
They
with
can't
salamander,
be burnt.
Yeah,
they can't be burnt.
So it's like a soul that can go through all different sorts of experiences, and it will still survive it. But the thing with salamander as well is always comes, I don't know, at least in my dream, it comes also with fire. You know, whether I was pressing a fire alarm, in your case it's fire. and in books it's yeah, also fire, but it can also be in underwater and above. It can survive both worlds. And another thing I feel like is interesting about this dream is like how they crawl up your feet. Like you also mentioned about you felt that you need to do some intellectual things with it. And Gary said that, you know, you have worked so much on your feminine, you know. If you work only on the feminine without masculine, you're also essentially killing the feminine, because they are coexistence, you know, they are a couple. So if you just work with the eros without the masculine, you're only working with the boiler, but you're not working with the mechanism that makes the energy flow. And so, and also that in alchemy, like you have, for example, the seven alchemical procedure, you know, and like Gary's, yeah, like Gary says, like the salamander is also a symbol of Mercury, and Mercury, the god Mercury, you know, has the Caduceus, you know, and he has the both elements. You know, you had to kill the feminine. She has to do a rebirth, and this rebirth comes two different symbols. You have the masculine and the feminine. It's now you. Essentially, it's like you becoming the staff. You know, you become the Caduceus staff. It's no longer outside. It's no longer objective. You know, the feminine and the masculine has now to work through you. You know, it's where Shakti meets Shiva. Your individual soul meets, you know, in a sense, the universal soul. But it has to go through this different transformation. It's crawling up your feet now. You know, it goes from your lowest, and now it moves towards the highest. And you had this sort of intuition that some intellectual, essentially some logos, has to be applied for the meeting of the snake, basically to bridge the gap, something like that.
Well,
Well, this
that's
is very
beautiful.
close to the ion vision that Jung had, you know, which gave Salome back her sight, you know, where he, but suddenly feels he's the snake winds around him, you know, and makes him he becomes very stiff, and this is what returned the sight to the blind anima Salome. He cured her through this, through his relationship with, and it's so alchemical. If you read the Chemical Wedding of Christian Rosenkreutz, almost this exact scene is described there. Is where the bird, the fabulous bird, is burnt to ashes. Out of it comes the worm or the snake, and it then develops. I mean, see, the salamander, since it can't be burned, the ashes, since it can't be burned, means you're going back to first principles. You're going back to the absolute beginning of a restart. So it is an aspect, as far as in the case of Salome, where she recovers her sight. In this case, the anima is, I think, she is throwing off all our connotations that we put on her, that maybe you put on her, Tim. Everything that you sort of read into her, she's burning off.
I'm going to share a drawing I did of my muse as a bird.
Yes, that is a bird. I don't know if you ever, what was that one Wes Anderson movie where all the women dressed up as birds, but this is very similar to that. So the bird aspect of the feminine is her spiritual aspect, and yet the feminine, like in the case of the woodpeckers that I always dealing with, they don't stray far from the rooted things. You know, they don't soar like eagles. So a feminine bird, you know, is one that, even though she has logos aspects or aerial or spiritual aspects, is totally of the earth and of the feminine. So she is somewhat like um, you know, it's a bird of the earth, you know. So the anima here is, I think she's throwing off all connotations of, well, you know, where you say there must be some misunderstanding, you know, you must quench the fire because there's been a huge misunderstanding. There may have been one on our part, that we're the ones that have the huge misunderstanding.
Right.
And she's saying that she's going back to the absolute first principles. So all our, everything that we have come to associate the anima with possibly is not acceptable to her. She says, no, you don't know my essence. You are reading into my essence. Your own psyche is trying to read my essence. My essence is not what you think. You're projecting on my essence. And I am going to show you what my essence is. And it starts out with ashes, and then it moves to snakes. And then it merges with the lower half of our body and gets a conscious aspect, but one not much more conscious than our own legs. You know, it's a reptile. So it's a nascent rebirth, and it has an aspect of it of compulsion, you know, that she is going to force this, or this is going to be forced upon you. And you need, or we need to deal with it, you know, because it's real. It's happening to us, and there's no way of stopping it. Okay, well, how about you, Charles or Gary or Ivan?
It's a really interesting dream, and if I would have had that, I would have been like, "Wow, that's a really great dream. I wish I knew what it meant."
Yeah, I mean, that's I'm very envious.
Yeah, I'm a little bit confounded by it, but I feel like at the end of these sessions, I just get more and more exhausted as I go on. So by the end,
It's
I
hard.
can really only do
Right.
so much. But two things that I found interesting. One, the thought of like, man, why aren't we just doing this in the driveway where the cleanup would be more easy? Like, makes me think that it's being taken way too rationally. The process of it is like, you know, being taken too literally, too rationally, not from the soulful standpoint. And then I thought the British accent was interesting because it kind of lends, you know, it's kind of typical Western intellectual accent, I guess you would say. So it's even more like, it just, I don't know, it just makes me think that those were two clues that like the process was being like almost
not
too
in our authentic,
intellectualized or something.
Yeah, not in our authentic accent or in our authentic voice. We're telling them they have a misunderstanding. So we're not speaking in our authentic voice, but we're telling them they have the misunderstanding and that the fire needs to be quenched. But and okay, what do you think, Gary?
Oh, I think I already gave my thoughts on it.
Oh, okay.
You know, just the fact that these things are coming up the legs, you know, which is kind of our roots. And not only that, but that, you know, I think, as Kevin mentioned, you know, they've now changed to like a salamander, you know, which can't even be destroyed by fire. I mean, that makes it even more sort of like you are not going to stop this process.
Yes, that's what I'm getting.
You know, the hands, which are the, you know,
Relentless.
the ways by which we manipulate the world are powerless.
Useless.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like, you know, I think your observation of like, you know, this is compulsive and or compulsory, you know, that's
Yes,
yeah,
And I don't think it's compulsory in a bad way, but I think what it is saying, it just seems to be a furious activity. Okay. And it's a furious activity of reshaping and reforming the feminine. And it says to me that I need to reform and reshape my and start from first principles of what the transformative feminine is in me. You know, it's just and it really has taken on the something like a force of nature. That's, I think, the compulsory part of it is that this is gripping us. You know, it's gripping our standpoint, and it's not going to let go. And our manipulative hands, and they're more important to Tim than probably us, the fact that he uses his hands to speak. His methods of expression are through his hands. And the method of expression that Tim uses is not going to be able to affect this just almost irreversible action. What do you think, Ivan?
It's a stunning dream. I got a sense of foreboding from it. That there's a lot of transformation there, right? A lot of ritual. There's a sort of death and rebirth of the unconscious anima, transformed by the fire, right? There's this aspect of what well, I don't know if it's your ego or your shadow. That's your own representation there. But what's interesting to me is the lizards are, from my understanding, a little bit more of a masculine form. And so you have these snakes that transform, which are representative of a lot of things, but can be representative of the feminine. But then they transform and they're crawling up you in a menacing way, and you are helpless to push them aside.
Isn't necessarily, well, it is menacing the ego. Yes.
Yeah.
It's menacing the ego, but I don't think that there is a aspect of maliciousness in it. I think the aspect in it is of absolute necessity, of something that almost is unfolding in a way that cannot be altered. You know, so it isn't doing it in a particularly malicious way, even though it is menacing to the ego. And at least now, that's very interesting, Tim, that the method of expression you use is not able to interfere with this gripping aspect of this nascent feminine that has in this beautiful phoenix ritual being gradually reborn, and we haven't got to the point where it is fully emerged. Go ahead, Kevin.
Was the snakes before, were they worms?
No, I said that. I said that. Yeah.
That comes from. Does that come from the Phoenix legend? Of
yes, though it's a worm.
Oh, I see.
Which is, you know, is a different aspect of a snake. It's a worm with no eyes. You know, or it's a snake with no eyes. You know.
Yeah.
But no, that was me. But I just was comparing it with the Phoenix, because this obviously has relationship to that myth. I mean, that's what's so breathtakingly, you know, dizzying about it. I just made me dizzy when I first was telling, because I knew it was so powerful.
Well, thanks, you guys. Yeah. That's really brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, at least it's a start. And I would say I don't know, Tim. This is so big. This is one where I think that we need to continue to lend ego attention to it. And because this is. I mean, well, I don't know why, but you seem to have a lot of these very powerful dreams. But I mean, all of you guys do. So anyway, well, let's think about that one too, some more. How about you, Ivan, or Charles, or Kevin? Do you have a dream that you want to discuss?
I mean, I have one, but I have an okay. Well, I was about to say I have an old one that's a little bit short.
Yeah, why don't we do if Ivan or Kevin have one, maybe we can get squeeze two in.
I just kind of realized they're both pretty long. So
okay, all right.
Someone else can share.
Yeah. Okay.
I have a short one. If
yeah, sure.
There was this female figure chasing me. I was running. I wasn't so much afraid of it. I just didn't want to confront this. It was a female figure that chasing me. And the next scene was a magician. And magician gave a flower to this boy in a room because obviously he was a part of the act, basically. So he had to hold the flower because he was gonna sort of guess what flower the girl would choose, which already he prepared. So he goes back to the scene. And on this scene, there is a girl, a younger girl, blonde hair, like a Renaissance looking girl. She was, there's something special about her in that sense. It was because her blonde hair was somewhat, she wasn't numinous, but it was like, girls you look in Renaissance pictures. And the magician now brings out her family, a man, husband, and two of her younger brother. And he was gonna perform the act, but I wake up like it didn't so I didn't know how the rest of it finished.
Okay.
But it was, for me, it was like, it would be nice to know more about what does it mean, like if there is a magician in your dream, like, and they're gonna do magic and so on.
Well, there's a female figure chasing you. Now, how does the magician and the flower, giving the flower to a boy, how does that follow?
That's the thing. I think the girl that was chasing me in the beginning, even though they had two different energy, because I wrote down when I read my dream that the girl that kept chasing me was the one that the magician was gonna do tricks on. So she was later on the stage.
Yes. Okay. So she is the figure that the magician, who is Jung used to say what the ancients called magic, we call psyche. So he's somewhat related to Merlin, or he's this aspect of the male wise old man. Okay. Now he gives a flower, which is an anima gift, to a boy in the room. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, we still haven't seen where the feminine is entering yet, but she's going to eventually come in. Is she the younger girl with blonde hair? Or
yes,
is that a second one? It's this. Okay, she's that one. So she comes in. She's supposed to guess which or pick a flower, and the magician is giving the boy which flower he's predicting she's going to pick.
Yeah, it's a bouquet of blue, dark blue, almost purplish. He already is giving it to boy because obviously in this magic act he already knows what she's gonna choose because he's the magician. So
yes,
so he's already holding the flower, which he will eventually go out, and obviously it was this one.
Okay, so you you're observing this as the dream ego, and there is a feminine aspect which is interested in you, and she is related to the wise old man, which the anima always is, and he is guessing which eros or aspect she is going to choose, which rooted eros aspect that she's going to be her emblem. Okay.
Mm.
So the wise old man is telling is confiding in another boy, might be his something to do with him. He's confiding him what eros element that the anima is going to have as her emblem. Okay. Now she go ahead. So she is now she is a blonde young girl who seems to represent the Renaissance, right? Is that what you said? Yeah.
Looks
Okay.
like
Well, yeah.
Renaissance.
Yeah. Well, okay. The Renaissance is the represents a pagan period in history that's unrelated to Christianity to some extent. It's the rebirth of classicism in Europe. So let's just go through it again. There's a feminine figure who is interested in having a relationship with you. There's a magician who is going to predict which eros aspect is going to be her emblem. She is related to a neutral kind of nymph-like relationship to the feminine. She has a nature aspect to her. The Renaissance is a return to classicism, and so let's go through it one more time because I'm missing the catch here. The
Kevin, did you say at the end you're expecting a transformation? Is it going to be part of the magic trick?
Yeah, I don't know really what the ending would be. I tried to sleep so I can see the ending, but it wouldn't let me. But it was I just felt like during the dream, this girl and the boy has somewhat, this little boy and this little girl. They're young girls, young boys. They have some close connection of some sort. I don't know what that connection is. And this was taking place on a theater scene, like
a stage.
A stage, yeah. So so he was gonna perform this magic trick. She's gonna guess what flower she's gonna pick, which he already prepared by giving this bouquet of flowers to this boy. Then he brings out the family so they could watch the trick, and yes, then I wake up.
The psyche knows, or the wise old man knows something deep about the eros quality of your anima. So they seem to be, and he is guessing it. He doesn't know it. He's trying to use his powers of intuition to know what she's going to choose. So she's unpredictable. She's unpredictable, and she's is related to the flowers, and she's related to a sort of a Nordic pagan aspect to her. So it's more nature aspect. So I mean, I was thinking, you are Scandinavian in some aspects, so it's somewhat to do with the realm of the ancestors. And she's representing, when she's representing the Renaissance, she's representing a non it's more of a secular wisdom, a wisdom that's not related to the church. So so anyway, the wise old man is trying to is using his magic, filling the room with psyche. And one of the things he's going to do is to try to predict the unpredictable eros of the anima, who is, so both aspects of your anima and the wise old man are very full of magic here. What do you guys think? How about you, Charles?
I'm slightly confused by the dream, to be honest.
How it fits together?
Yeah.
Well, I think I've got it. I was sort of, I think I got it, but go ahead.
No, I was gonna say just the actual description of the dream, I find like that it would be kind of a hard dream to describe. But I think I don't know. Anytime there's a magician in a dream is really interesting, especially if it's one of the main characters.
Yeah, that seems to be the focus. The focus is of the magician is a very important focus of the dream.
Yeah, and that like it's centered around a magical act.
Yeah, something that is going to be outside of ordinary reality. It's going to be have a miracle aspect, which would be one that transcends ordinary reality and is somewhat exists outside of time. So the wise old man is going to bring an element of eternity into our relationship with the anima.
And I guess, I don't know, like, I have the just kind of weird idea that if I were to give my anima a flower, you know, it would make sense for me to give her a magic flower.
Yes.
You know, through a ceremonial ritual flower. You don't just hand her the flower.
Mm-hmm.
There has to be some sort of ritual around
it. You have the wise old man as the intermediary. So the wise old man is going to produce the magical flowers, which are the magical flowers of relationship. The flower represents the relatedness of the anima. And this, in her case, her relatedness is going to be enriched by the magic of the self, who is actively participating in making sure that she is full of this magic, you know, and that her eros relatedness to Kevin is going to have an aspect which he is not an ordinary aspect to Kevin. So the aspect of the eros, when it is fully armed, is going to be a as soon as you touch it, it's like an electric shock. You know, I mean, this aspect of the magical, the feminine is going to be filled with mysterious energy. Okay, in a way that only the self can do, and the self is taking a particular interest in filling the anima with this mysterious energy of eros too. So this really is a Merlin figure. It's not it's a magician that doesn't really leave the earth very much, but he is going to make your relationship, Kevin, with the anima. He's going to give it a mysterious energy which it didn't possess before.
I'm thinking about the association with the Renaissance. And a couple of things. One is, the Renaissance was the first time that consciousness was really developed beyond this sort of childlike mythology stage of human development. And it's it's really the first time that the Western world looked at the human as a sort of reasonable character rather than a mythic character. So there's not only this real attention to detail and to the visual integrity of the person, but there's this kind of idealism, like you think about Botticelli or some of the high Renaissance artists that make these astonishingly very, very ideal, beautiful figures.
Naturalist, though, is what you're
Very
saying.
naturalistic.
Yeah,
but
they're not so
not
mythic.
like if it was an impressionist woman, I would think it'd be more sensual and sort of earthy. But this is very high class, kind of spiritual, idealized.
Yeah, I know exactly. I just can see paintings of exactly what you're describing. I think the one of John the Baptist, or is or the Renaissance artists were Da Vinci, Michelangelo, Raphael, Botticelli, right. Donatello. I mean, this just absolutely beautiful artists. Their art, and it's so human. The Mona Lisa, but yet it does have. Don't you think it has a magical quality that the Impressionists don't have? I mean, the Mona Lisa. She possesses this mystery. I mean, if there was anyone who the magician would lend magic to, it would be the Mona Lisa.
So just a thought.
So mysteriously full of magic. Go ahead.
So the anima chases him, but he's not interested. And then it turns out that even though he wasn't interested, the anima is part of a special ritual, which he is now going to witness, but not be a part of. He's just kind of a witness to this. Mm-hmm. And in this ritual, you have this child who, I mean, maybe could this be the divine child? The one
that's what I wasn't too sure about, but it's a divine boy, and he's related to the anima because
of the flower. I mean, and it's like saying, okay, here's this special thing which is going to happen, but for it to come off, these things have to align. It's like the flowers, the bloom has to be the same. That's kind of what it says to me. So there's this element of chance that, that we don't know for sure. We think the magician maybe has the power and maybe it's just part of the trick. But at the same time, the anima, we know, has this free willing, ability to choose other than the wise old man, the psyche.
Mm-hmm.
So
but
yeah. So it's like, to me, there's an event which may come about and we don't know how to help it.
How about you, Ivan or Charles? Do you have any comments on this? Or
I just wonder, did you have any thoughts, Kevin, in your dream about what the intention or the motivation of the magician was?
I have a slight, that's the thing, I'm not too sure. I just felt like he was connecting the girl with the boy somehow. Somehow that would also be a surprise, not only knowing the flower, but also that he is the one that brings it, I think. But I'm not too sure about that. but my thoughts during the dream was like, I really wanted to know how he tricks the girl. Like I wanted to know, because I don't believe in real magic in that sense that, you know, a person can fly or anything. For me, I wanted to know, like, how would he be able to do that? Like, you know, what is his trick? You know, what is his trick? Another thing that stands out for me is that somehow I know this girl had curly hair before, but now it has been straightened. So I spent somewhat long time looking at her hair, like, because it was very special yellow color. Like,
Golden. So she's
yeah,
somewhat of a golden aspect, or so. So the whole thing is just full. I mean, she's supposed to be infused with mystery, and she's the golden, the golden feminine, you know, and so there's an aspect of it there that uh, is and yet she wants to be connected with you. I mean, I'd say that the anima world is being considerably enriched and is very is becoming full of wisdom too, not just fake. I mean, the wise old man is making sure that she is informed, you know, with and he's with. I mean, he's there with her. Let's say he's just a confidant. How about you, Charles? We'll start with Charles and Ivan next time, because they're champion dream havers. Although Tim, oh my God,
if I don't have too crazy of a dream within the next week, I definitely have one that I would have shared this time that's pretty wild. It's very, very strange. But
let's start
Kevin's
with that
dream,
one then.
On Kevin's dream, like I said earlier, it just seems that it has this ritualistic element to it that that I don't know, that there's definitely something really interesting happening internally, that an act of magic with the anima. And I was thinking maybe the little boy is a puer.
I've never seen a dream like that before. It's I love it. That the magician is aligning himself with the anima.
Yeah, I had really, that's the thing. That's why I wanted to share this dream, because I don't know what to make out of it. Like, I didn't know what to, I spent perhaps 3 days about it. Like, and I ended up with more question and answer. But now it made me more clear, like, from your guys, some aspect of it, like, you know, like also Greg says about perhaps adding something to the anima, you know, make something, you know, doing a trick, but it's not only a trick in that sense, it's also connecting something. Yeah, it's at more deeper level. And yeah, but this has really, this this dream has really I haven't really gone too far with this dream, even though if I've tried to, because just the whole magic trick.
Well, it's all of these dreams have been just like blowing me away. The bear and the stag and Tim's dream. Oh my God. I mean, that very close to Ion. And then this one is I've never seen a dream like this. Now, Ivan, we need your dreams, because I'm always thinking that you're getting these dreams from God or something. They're so deep. So next time we'll start out with Charles and Ivan. And by the way, Jan, we're just ending. You know, if you have a dream too that you want to discuss, you can just either email it to us or text it to us. Oh, just want to say hello. Okay. All right. Well, that's fine. Yeah, you can see the energy of it. I want to just say that I get really more out of these, even though they are tiring. I mean, I think far more about these later in the week. than any other session. I mean, and I'm saying they are tiring doing, you, Charles, you say this, and they are tiring, but the more time you spend on it, the more absolutely beautiful they are. And just, you can't get them out of your head, so anyway, and hopefully next time, Charles, or any of you guys want to tell a little bit of your story. Charles is a mystery that I'm going to continue to work on, because his volcano is amazing, and
So it's a water volcano.
yes, and the way it's related to it contrasts. I mean, we're both puers, but where I'm an aerial being, he's a fluid being, so it's a big mystery. But anyway, you're going to be 35 in 5 years, so then you're eligible to have your dreams mean something. Okay, well, we'll see you guys next Monday, or and on Sunday. If you guys have anything you want to share about your whatever, we'll listen to it. Okay, well,
the links.
Thanks for dropping in, Jan and Tim and Ivan and Gary and Kevin and Charles.
Craig, are the links still the same as what you've been using?
Yes, I don't ever change them.
Okay.
I have no security.
That's fine. This works for everybody, I think.
Okay, all right, great. Well, we'll see you guys later.
All right, see everybody.
Thanks so much. Bye now.